watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Mark Hall. The sun is out and the heat is on in the DMV. Yesterday's storms causing quite a mess in areas across the region. In Silver Spring, this quiet neighborhood was where this large tree brought down power lines, knocking out power there. Pepco turned off the power. However, they are still asking people to stay a safe distance away from wires. And part of the Brighton Dam drive-in in Brookville near Olney completely covered by 2 feet of fast-moving water. One homeowner says that he had to turn around because he wasn't able to get through.
There was 2 vehicles that tried to traverse here. They got bogged down and they had to get towed out. They did a bunch of work downstream to hopefully open up the area so that we wouldn't have this backup here, but doesn't seem to work, or it was just too much rain here.
Wise decision. Our weather team always reminds us to turn around and don't drown. The man who you just heard from says that his wife took these photos of the drivers who opted to drive through the water here. Police say that fortunately no one was hurt. Right now, Pepco reporting 50 customers in Maryland and D.C. are experiencing outages. The company also says that if you don't have an outage, report it, or pardon me, if you do have one, report it. And they have a map on their website to let you know the estimated time the lights are slated to come back on. All right, meteorologist Damon Madsen joins us once again for our latest forecast. Damon, take us back to school because the sun is out. Not a good thing with the conditions.
Not if we want to avoid more heavy rain and storms, Mark, that's for sure. Now, the sunshine is helping to dry some of us out after all of that excessive heavy rain we had on Wednesday. But yeah, it's starting to sort of make this into a pressure cooker here, folks. We're building up heat and humidity. And as the next round of storms rolls in, they'll feed off of that. And we will see things really start to ramp up later this afternoon. Again, this doesn't happen often here in the DMV, but in that orange shade of color, you have a level 3 out of 5. We only go up to level 5 risk on this severe outlook here, and we are right there on one of the higher levels, mainly from D.C. and I-95 eastward toward the Chesapeake and the eastern shore. That severe threat is a little bit less the more west that you go, back toward I-81 and the mountains of western Maryland and West Virginia. But the main story here, the fact that all of us have some shade of color on this map, everybody is fair game for the possibility of severe storms, which is higher throughout the rest of the afternoon today. Now, because we had that heavy rainfall yesterday and over the last several days, and there could be more with those storms later this afternoon, another flood watch has been issued for the immediate D.C. metro area and surrounding counties up I-95 toward Baltimore. That's where some of the heaviest rain and the flooding you saw there on that video. That's where all of that happened yesterday. And here's going to be the trigger to all of this. A strong cold front is sweeping on in. It's moving across the Ohio River Valley as we speak. And look out ahead of it here, folks. We already have a line of rain and storms sparking up across West Virginia, parts of western Pennsylvania. And that is the first wave of activity that we should be ready for as we head later into the afternoon. So it's not going to be much longer. Those sunny skies will quickly darken up as we head into the 2-3 o'clock hour. And then from then on, or straight into the evening time, we will have that threat for strong to severe storms, heavy rainfall, and other impacts could even come out of all of this, down trees, down power lines, if damaging winds develop. So we'll talk more about the exact timing, location of these storms, and when things might finally start to improve out there, coming up in your full forecast here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. Leaders in D.C. warning residents and visitors about high temperatures and the humidity that Damon was talking about as we head into the official start of summer. Candace Cole is at the Georgetown waterfront with some tips to keep you safe in the heat.
Well, if you plan on being out and about today, it's a good idea to stay hydrated with plenty of water and electrolytes, as it is expected to get hotter and muggier as the day goes on. And if you're in D.C., it's also a great idea to sign up for Alert DC. That way you can get any heat advisories that come through and also information on cooling centers. If you have a medical condition, you'll want to limit the time you stay outside, as heat and humidity can exacerbate those conditions, and it's a good day to stay inside with the AC. Definitely check on seniors, and for those who may not have access to shelter or a place with air conditioning, you can call 311 and transportation to a cooling center will be made available to them. You can find the cooling center closest to you by visiting heat.dc.gov. If you have little ones, the splash parks are a great way to cool them down. They're open today and can be found at many of the recreation centers across the district. And of course, it's a great excuse to head to one of many DC pools, including indoor pools, which may be more feasible as we look towards some severe weather later this afternoon. Here's how some folks in DC are staying cool in all the heat.
There's good old-fashioned air conditioning. Also, that little water over there that might be calling my name after I get done my workout.
We're gonna go to a coffee shop right now and hopefully cool down just by drinking something iced.
Try and stay in the shade as much as we can when we're out with the dog, and obviously any air conditioning. And we take him and get his puppuccino.
And just a reminder for any pet owners, you'll also want to make sure that when you take them out, it's for short periods of time, as they can easily become dehydrated and overheated. For more tips on how to stay cool and beat the heat, head on over to our website, dcnewsnow.com. Reporting in Georgetown, Candace Cole, DC News Now.
Developing now, explosions rock the skies over Israel and Iran as the Iranian missile hit southern Israel's main hospital early Thursday, wounding people and causing extensive damage. Meanwhile, Israel has launched strikes on Iran's heavy water reactor. It's the latest move targeting Iran's extensive nuclear program. Well, a D.C.-based human rights group says that the Israeli strikes have killed more than 600 people in Iran, and Iranian strikes have killed at least 24 people in Israel. As casualties continue to mount, President Trump still coming to a decision on if the U.S. should get it directly involved in Israel's war against Iran.
Do it, I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do.
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, because things change.
This comes as the U.S. has begun evacuating some diplomats and their families from the U.S. Embassy in Israel. This is all as hostilities between Israel and Iran continue to intensify. State Department also has ramped up its warnings to American citizens in Israel and throughout the region, including in Iraq. In the district, new details about a curfew we could see in parts of D.C. later this summer. Mayor Bowser proposing emergency legislation, and it's aimed to prevent large teen takeovers like recent incidents in Navy Yard and the Wharf. Now, if passed, teen curfews will be set an hour earlier at 11 p.m. every night through August. It would also impact those who are age 17 years old, and the proposal gives police an option to begin a curfew in some areas at 7 p.m. for up to 30 days. Neighbors have mixed feelings.
Traveling in groups, you don't see just one of them around there. They 5, 6, 7 of them. So I think if they have a curfew, limit the amount of people that's together, I think that would help.
I mostly see it as not a total solution. We need to think more on what we can do for the kids to socialize safely.
Council is expected to consider the legislation July 1st. Well, staying in the district, council members meeting for more than 14 hours to go over the mayor's 2026 budget. Yesterday's meeting started at 10 a.m., stretching to 12:38 this morning. Hearing from over 379 witnesses. It's a nearly $22 billion plan. Mayor says that it will generate jobs while supporting city and services and programs, including $30 million for the police department to increase hiring and to create a new horseback unit, $270 million for teachers' pay raises. $681 million is earmarked for building a new stadium and a parking garage at the old RFK site. But some say does not do enough for families in the district.
We are on the brink of tens of thousands of residents losing health benefits, housing benefits, resources to feed their families and to put food on the table. And while I'm not interested in pointing fingers, it is the responsibility of our government to take care of our people. And I don't think the budget before us does that adequately enough. The council is set to take its first vote on July 14th.
Well, today's Juneteenth, a day to celebrate the ending of slavery in the U.S., and the National Harbor is ready to welcome everyone for their celebration. This is the 4th annual Juneteenth celebration at the Harbor, and this year is expected to be their biggest one so far. You can expect a lot of music performances and a paint and sip event, and also Black-owned businesses marketplace. One organizer tells us that she's excited for all of the Black-owned businesses that will be participating.
So many different talented entrepreneurs that come out, and I mean, we get swarmed with over 100 to 130 vendors that are interested, and we only can select 30, but our goal is to be bigger and better next year too. So if we go into 60 vendors, it just allows the community to even have that much more participation for Juneteenth.
Well, the Freedom Day Black-owned marketplace will be open from 11 to 5. The night will end with the showing of the movie Black Panther. That starts at 7. Well, there are some important changes to WMATA's schedules for Juneteenth. Today, Metrorail will be on a Saturday schedule, and stations will close at midnight. Now, there will also be free parking in all Metro garages and parking lots. Metro buses will be on a Saturday supplemental schedule, and you have a bit of more bus service than a typical weekend, but you still have to pay a regular fare.